Panthers are one full game out of a wild card spot. Rams, Lions, Seahawks, all 4-2. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. He sorts the Sunday pile. Let's start with a complete effort. So I will just ask you this. Do you think that was more about the Panthers or more about the Cowboys?
I'll say it was more about the Panthers. I mean, the Cowboys obviously have issues. But, I think Carolina, it's kind of hard to parse out, honestly. Like, you look at this team that, again, like we talked about last week, sometimes, when you're past a month into the season, you kind of got to look at things holistically, right? I mean, the Panthers are like a little difficult to deal with because they've been quote unquote good at home,
right?
Or found ways to win in two close games that I think really surprised some folks. Where if this Panthers team wasn't at least capable, they would have figured out a way to lose those games. You have the weird blowout win over the Falcons, and then pretty much manhandled by the Jaguars, down big a game in like total garbage time, and then absolutely destroyed by the Patriots on the road. So I think look at those road games. Two of those teams are probably pretty good, in the Jaguars and the Patriots. One of those definitely mid in the Cardinals, but we don't know enough about them yet. I still don't think, and they're now dealing with an injury to Kyler Murray. But it's like I have a really hard time trusting the Panthers away from Charlotte. Although I think that their run defense is maybe pretty good when Derrick Brown is back. Yeah. But they're also underdogs to the winless Jets on the road this week.
They are.
I mean, yeah. And they will be a trendy dog because the Jets, no one wants to like the Jets for good reason.
Yeah.
The Panthers are, I think will just be a trendy dog, but I don't know that I necessarily want to back them. When you got a winless team at home against an okay, like I think the Panthers, if you had to say something about the Panthers, they're probably the best worst team in football.
Okay, that. I don't disagree with that. Here's where I think the game was definitely about the Panthers to win over the Cowboys, because Dallas has an elite offense. They have posted points on everybody, and I thought, I don't know how you looked at it, Dallas had two touchdown drives in the second half that should not have continued. There was a bad pass interference call on J.C. Horn. That's not pass interference. And then a terrible roughing the passer call. Both of those calls came on third and long and extended drives. Dallas scored touchdowns at the end of both of those. Like, I thought that was as good a performance defensively as we have seen from this unit in 2 years. And I have no idea if that's growth, if it's a one-off, because honestly, we haven't really seen it. But I was very impressed about their defense. I think you could explain their offense. Dallas's defense is terrible. And including their run defense, which I was told by the general manager that they had fixed with the trade of Micah Parsons. Was that did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, and let's not sleep on. I mean, Rico Dowdle. Like, I joked about Rico Dowdle. I wasn't really joking. I was like, right. But I mentioned the Rico Dowdle revenge game coming this week, and so did multiple members of the Cowboys ownership, management. I mean, he's playing like a man possessed, and he has been the last 2 weeks. It's been incredible. That's been a revelation for the Panthers, considering they got him on the cheap after Dallas moved on. I think when you look at what Carolina's done, they have, outside of really the first, 2 or 3 drives against the Dolphins, 2 weeks ago, they've been pretty awesome at home on defense. I mean, they shut out the Falcons.
Yeah.
They limited a really good Cowboys offense, and they kind of shut down the Dolphins in the second half. So I think, I don't know if it's something you want to bank on moving forward, but for whatever reason, the Panthers' defense at home seems to be showing up in a big way, and I think that's it's not unreasonable to expect that to continue. Now, the question is, can they play a good defensive game on the road?
Yeah,
because we haven't seen that. They got carved by Drake May and the Patriots again. Patriots looked awesome against the Saints. It's possible the Patriots are just a good football team. Could be 5-1 if they beat the Steelers.
Yeah.
And Carolina, and the Carolina football Twitter account, back to tweeting about Drake Mayo in the reg. That's kind of nice to see. I think I think the Panthers are sort of in like let's this is a big week for Carolina.
Yep.
It's a winnable road game against a winless team. You'd almost prefer the Jets have one win, just so there wasn't so much pressure on the Jets to find a way to beat the Panthers. But yeah, go to New York and win that game, get it 4-3, and I don't think they're a playoff team.
No,
but the NFL is weird, man. There's gonna be you could steal some games and find yourself in the mix.
Well, here's why it's possible to steal games. If you can run the ball, and Dallas had to be aware that Carolina's first plan was to run the ball, and they could not stop it. They absolutely could not stop it. I think there were 15 carries of at least 7 yards. Half of Rico Dowdle's carries go for at least 7 yards. I mean, Dallas has no chance at that point if you're giving up, unless the others are all for losses, and they were not. It seemed like the worst he was getting was 3. There were more completed passes for less than 7 yards, I think, than there were runs for less than 3. Will Brinson is joining us here. Real quick about what's next for the Panthers in terms of playing against the Jets. Anybody who watched that game, and I'm assuming that Greg Olsen didn't, because he was praising the Cowboys' defense for how their performance against the Jets. The Jets' offense arrives shut down. So they cannot throw the ball at all, and they also can't call plays that would at least give them a chance. I'll be surprised. It'll be an indictment of the Panthers if the Jets move the ball in the air, not saying at all, but if they throw for more than 125 yards, I'll be surprised.
Jets, on Sunday morning in London, the Jets lose 13-11 to the Broncos. And the Broncos really tried to give them that game.
Yes.
Because the Jets had 82 net yards.
They had minus 10 net passing yards.
Negative 10 passing yards in 2025. You certainly shouldn't be covering, and you certainly shouldn't have a chance to win if you have negative 10 passing yards in a game and less than 100 total yards in a game. 1.4 yards per play is unbelievable. So, if the Panthers, again, it's almost a shame that the Jets are winless.
No, it's not. They deserve to be winless. They deserve.
I'm saying it's a shame. If you're a Panthers fan, it's a shame that they're a winless team versus they get the week 1 win against the Steelers, and there's not that pressure of being the lone winless team in the NFL. And it's the problem is for the Panthers. This is a game where you really can win. You really should go up to New York, and you are a better football team than the Jets. And I think I would probably lean towards the Jets finding a way to win. I'm not really sure how yet, but just because of the pressure that comes with that being that winless team. If you're the Panthers and you want to have a chance at making any noise, you almost have to win this week. Which is it's weird coming off a big win at home and then going on the road to say it's a must-win game, but it kind of is.
You see, here's the way I look at it. And I don't fancy the Panthers a playoff team either, but you should at some point have the responsibility of winning a game you should win. And I don't care what the point spread says. I've watched, I'll be honest, I watched the Jets in week 1 because the Panthers were on rain delay or lightning delay. And that Jets team impressed me. I thought they were good. I thought the fact that they lost to the Steelers was only because they fumbled a punt. I watched their offense, and it looked competent against what I thought was a pretty stout Steelers defense. I don't know what to make of the Steelers now. But the team I watched yesterday, and I know Denver has an outstanding defense. The team that I watched yesterday, as you said, looked like they tried to lose. I don't even understand. If you're the coach, if you're the offensive coordinator of the Jets, and you haven't moved the ball through the air all game long, but you're having some success on the ground, and you know you're 10 yards away from game-winning field goal territory. Why do you suddenly, on 1st and 10, drop Justin Fields back? 3 straight. What are we doing? What are we doing? That whole thing was comical to me. Back to the Panthers, because we are wasting everybody's time talking about how pathetic the Jets are. Only that this is a game, as you said, that you said they can win. I think it's a game they should win, and I think that having the pressure of that is a growing opportunity for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And look, after you play at the Jets, it gets kind of tough. You Bills at home, then at the Packers. Then you get the Saints at home, at the Falcons. Those are 2 huge winnable. I mean, they're winnable division games. Like, that's the bottom line. You could beat those teams. Then at San Francisco and the Rams at home. So if you assume that at most they win one of those 4 games between the Bills, Packers, Niners, and Rams, and maybe they could win 2 if things really start clicking on offense. And I'm not suggesting
we don't know who's going to be left when they play the 49ers.
What's that?
We don't know who's going to be left when they play the 49ers, who lose at least one. They're unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah, but I would just say that, like, this, I mean, just looking at the schedule, it's hard not to look at this game at the Jets. It's like a must-win game.
Yeah. I mean, look, theoretically, you win this game, you might be able to get through 11 games and be 6-5 if you win both the games against the Saints and the Falcons. Just through those games, and then the Rams, whatever happens in the last 5-6 games of the regular season. Oh, what I want to see for this team and the coaching staff and whatnot, and I'm basically out on Dave Canales anyway. But what I want to see is, games that matter in November into December. Just whether I think they're going to win them or not, whether the schedule is backloaded in terms of heaviness or not, and it clearly is. I want to see how they handle, games of consequence later in the season. This is why I kept saying last year during the summer that I don't know what level of importance to put on what we saw at the end of the year, because the winning or losing didn't matter. Like, to the standings, it just didn't matter. That's a different type of pressure. So I thought we saw a lot of good from Bryce. Dowdle is amazing, and it was an impressive win. Let me ask you about a couple of other games. I want to start with the Buccaneers. Like, I know you've said before on this during this segment that Baker Mayfield should be an MVP candidate. I know they were talking about Patrick Mahomes, an MVP candidate, and I don't care what the betting markets say. Eventually, we get around to pretty much the right answer at the end of the season. What Baker is doing with Tampa, and they were down to their 5th and 6th wide receivers yesterday. That's pretty remarkable. And now he has the signature play. I know it's not a Heisman Trophy, but he has the signature play on 3rd and 18 to scramble for that first down and keep a drive alive.
Yeah, one of my smart friends, Blaine Smith, said that Baker is maybe the most likable guy in the NFL right now, and I don't think he's wrong at all. Now, one of my silly friends, Garrett Jernigan, said that Baker probably isn't the MVP 5 weeks in. I mean, obviously Garrett's wrong there. I mean, I think if you held the vote right now, that I think Baker would win the award. Now, that doesn't mean he's the favorite, because Josh Allen is more likely to win it, and Patrick Mahomes is more likely to win it. But Baker is the 3rd favorite right now, and I just think given the losses the Bucs have sustained on both sides of the ball, whether dealing with without your All-Pro offensive left tackle for the first few games of the year, Mike Evans is out, Chris Godwin is out, now Emeka Egbuka looks like he's going to have more testing done, and he might miss some time. And so, just when we talk about value and we talk about the most valuable player through 6 weeks of the season, what we're talking about is a guy in Baker who has elevated his play and elevated his team. And even though it's probably not sustainable to win at the end of the game every week, which they've done almost every week, they are winning because Baker is, putting his onions on the table, marching his team down the field, and setting them up for game-winning drives. And then, as you like the play yesterday, it was back-to-back really to sort of cement the moment. The third down scramble is like, and you heard the call on the game. It was like, that's vintage Baker Mayfield. He's like, I mean, he's banged up and he's fighting through these guys and he's diving for a first down, and then he hits a bomb down the field. I think it was to Tez Johnson, who, as you pointed out, weighs 140 pounds. He's like, I mean, the stuff he's doing with not a lack of personnel, but just all of the injuries surrounding him and getting the Bucs into this position where they are a contender. Now, are they the best team in football? Probably not.
No.
But all you got to do is win your division. And if Baker does this, if Baker keeps doing this throughout the season with this lack of guys around him, he is going to get MVP love. Now, look, Mahomes goes out and does Mahomes stuff like he's doing. Rasheed Rice comes back next week.
Yeah.
Like, Mahomes can win the award. Josh Allen can win the award. We could see a vintage Josh Allen performance tonight against the Falcons. It wouldn't surprise me. But Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are one of the bigger stories of the NFL so far this season, and Baker is absolutely an MVP candidate. And if we voted on it after Week 6, I think he'd win.
All right, final thing for Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. He sorts the Sunday pile. Are the Baltimore Ravens done?
They're not done, but, man, they are. I mean, like, they're just not, you saw the game against Houston last week. They were down everybody. Now, they get Kyle Hamilton and they get Ronnie Stanley back. They can't score at the goal line. They just don't really threaten anybody. But the Rams just, and this is how I didn't like the Rams laying 7.5 because I thought that Sean McVay might be willing to win just a low-scoring sort of rock fight, which he did. Baltimore just didn't put up 3 points. So, it would have been shocking if the Ravens somehow found a way to cover that touchdown and the hook. But, I mean, it's just, they just can't do anything on offense right now. If you can't do anything on offense, like, it's just going to be a problem. They are so injured. Looking at the standings, you have Pittsburgh at 4-1. They got a rookie quarterback coming back from London, his first start in London on like short notice.
Right.
It was a horrible spot for the Browns. The Steelers rolled there. I don't necessarily know that I don't think that the Steelers are like a great team.
They're not.
But the Bengals are rolling out Joe Flacco for another half of the season at least that's left. The Browns aren't very good, and so like the Ravens could make a run, but it has to happen sooner rather than later because at some point you just dig a hole that's too big, and they get Lamar Jackson back after the bye, they get Roquan Smith back after the bye. If they make a push, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I think they're probably still like a reasonable number, and not a reasonable like you would want to bet it, but just like like in terms of the division winner, it is currently I see. The Ravens are plus 180. Like, you can't bet that because they're like almost 5 games, like we're 4 games back. But it wouldn't be that shocking if with everyone back, they started scoring a ton of points. Maybe they can find a way to, like, the defense, like, you engineer some blitzes and stuff. You get Matabuke back and you can stop the run again. If the Ravens make a push, it wouldn't shock me.
That's a lot of ifs.
It's getting late.
That's a lot of ifs. It's a lot of ifs to happen before we can believe in the Baltimore Ravens again. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. My friend, he sorts the Sunday pile. We'll reconvene after, we're going to have to watch Panthers and Jets on they're going to force me to watch the Jets 2 weeks in a row. Gosh, I need hazard pay. All right, my man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.